Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Revisit. And again, I always appreciate the coaches taking time out of their busy days, especially the next coach we're going to bring in. Speaking to him on the morning of the first day of practices, and I know he's excited. And let's face it, all of us are excited right now to actually have something to talk about and actually something to plan ahead for a spring football season. And again, glad to bring in Adam Lewandowski from Andrew High School. And Coach, it's been a crazy year plus, but just the fact that we actually have a first day of practice and something to look forward to is tremendous news in my world, and I'm sure it is in yours as well.
Absolutely. You have the strangest year that any of us have lived through behind us, hopefully, and so it's a great thing to know that you have some normalcy coming back, especially when you're as close to your players as a lot of us are, and you see the negative effects of not being able to participate, not being able to be around, their peers and their coaches and to socially interact. They don't have the team, they don't have the sports, they don't have the competition. Knowing that it's coming back, even in this abbreviated season, is it's a huge plus. It's a huge win, and we're definitely fired up for it.
Yeah, looking back, and again, the last thing I want to do is relive the last year plus. I think all of us want to put it in the rearview mirror, but
right.
I mean, let's face it, Coach. There was no playbook for any of this. No one had any idea. I'm sure from your standpoint, like everyone else, you probably had a dozen different plans drawn up and had to throw them out and start over. Was that the hardest part of all this? Was the fact that you take so much pride in being able to control things and be organized. And this is just a situation where literally all that was thrown out the window. And you basically were at the will of others. You really didn't have a whole lot of say in what you could do and when you could do it. Was that the hardest thing maybe for you?
For me personally, I try to practice what I preach as much as possible. So the discipline and integrity piece that we talk about so much, who are you when nobody's watching? Those points came full focus for me personally. And so what I try to do is remain flexible. I try to remain ready at any point. I try to remain very open-minded. And I use the opportunity that the time provided to learn more, to get better, to refocus, to recenter. It wasn't always pretty because you have those selfish wants and desires that you're passionate about. You want those things to be available to you. But when you talk about what was the hardest part, I guess from a football standpoint, we really didn't have to live through that. The hardest part would have been having to tell our seniors that there will be no season, and do what the baseball teams and the softball teams and those teams in the previous season having to give up their season. That would have been the hardest thing, truly. And so the fact that we did not have to do that, I find that to be a very, very fortunate blessing. Even though it is an abbreviated season, we are still able to play for our conference, and we're still able to play for ourselves and our friends and our brothers and our families and our community. So we're focusing on those things as the positives. And the hardest part was just not being around everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
We love what we do. We love who we are. And, now that we're able to finally do those things together again, we're focusing on that. The hardest part, I don't think we had to live through yet. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah. How do you keep a team full of kids motivated and invested during a pandemic?
Well, if I were a first-year coach with my program, it would probably be a way different answer. Having been with these guys now, this is my 5th year at Andrew High School. The relationships that we all have formed in that time, and kind of who we are as a student body, who we are as a school community, we have strong relationships, and so that foundational work has already been laid out, and it's already there, and that deep root system helps you stay upright, and so we relied on a lot of that to kind of use our communication and talk to the players about what they can do apart from school and apart from the program on their own. the media tools and messaging centers and messaging tools that you can use really help with that also. But yeah, I mean, that's been the challenge, I would say, is that you are not together. You're not really together in any real sense. And so it's definitely different. You have to trust a lot. You have to trust your players are maturing the way that they should, and that they have the character that you hope that they have, to make sure they're doing the right things, to make sure that they're staying out of trouble, to make sure that they are bettering themselves as young men and helping their families and taking care of their community. So, all of those big pieces that we talk about all the time, this is one of those opportunities where they can start to actually do those other things besides football. And so, that's been a source of pride for us as well. And so, like I answered before, trying to focus on the positives rather than picking apart the things to be frustrated with is kind of been our mantra. And so far it's serving us well, and that practice at being very flexible, being very open-minded and ready whenever, plan D, plan E, plan F are going to come to fruition. That's kind of what we're living through right now. And so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I could talk a strong game right now about how well we're doing, but until we actually get out there, we won't know for sure. I do feel very confident, but a lot of the work is still ahead of us.
I think one of the things that's come out of this for me, and I found myself doing this from time to time, and I think a lot of us are going to have to change our mindset and our thought is, being an older generation and looking at these kids and saying, well, they've got it easy, and it's they're soft, and compared to what we had to do, and after what they've been through the last year plus, I'm never going to say that again, because you look at what these kids have had to deal with, from online schooling to, getting their hopes up and having things taken away from them where they had no say so in it, and being able to stay the course and be able to continue to progress and, academically stay on top of things. Coach, there's some pretty tough kids there. I don't think they get credit for it in this generation. And I think certainly from my standpoint, that's really changed from all this.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's easy to fall into those generational traps where you say, this generation, the younger generation, they're this, they're that, their music, their clothes, their attitudes, or what have you. We heard that from the generation before us, and certainly that's kind of a common thing. I try to avoid that at all costs. I'm a history geek at heart, and so I have learned to be more evaluative and more objective when I think about those kind of things. You're talking about different eras, and use the data, and these cats right now, they've had to deal with a whole lot of things that nobody else has in a very long time. Humans are not meant to be in isolation, and so just that component of what we've gone through during the pandemic has been a really hard struggle. And, you think about the players themselves, that's one thing, but then you don't fully know what's happening in everyone's family also. And so there's a lot of factors that are interwoven there that are really hard to pinpoint, and they're really hard to define for a lot of people. But certainly these guys now, this generation of teenagers and high schoolers and high school student athletes, they've had to really fight through a different set of adversity. It's one thing to have to physically fight through something, a hard lift, a hard game, up a hill. But to emotionally have to battle through something, to mentally have to battle through something and not be able to physically do it, that's something different for a student athlete, I think, to have to muster and to figure out. And so my hat is off to these guys. They've been patient. They've used their voice to speak with eloquence and with passion, and I applaud the coaches and the players for that. And now we're finally getting our chance, and And I think everybody is going to see just how important it is, what we do and who we are, not only to our schools and community, but to society at large. I think it's time that we start celebrating the Warrior again, for sure.
Yeah. When you take your team out tonight, first practice, maybe some different emotions from the coaches, from the players. What do you think? Maybe a little bit, not that maybe we haven't been grateful, but maybe even more grateful now for being able to actually go out and have a practice and be able to gather again. I got to imagine maybe we might see a little bit of a run of emotions, a little bit of the gamut there.
Just even thinking about it, I feel some emotions, stirring up. The love of the game and the passion for what we do is always there, but finally being able to do what you feel your purpose is, your life's work is definitely an emotional thing for us. I think there's going to be a huge sense of relief that we're finally doing it and that the season is actually happening. I think that'll be a huge sense of relief. Up to this point, we've been very cautiously optimistic and not trying to put the cart before the horse. And, because heck, I mean, there's been so many cancellations and changes. It's hard to really nail anything down or to have anything in stone. So we're being cautiously optimistic, but I think once we're out there today, there's going to be a real sense of relief and a real sense of excitement. And I think a real sense of purpose is going to come out. Yeah. I expect these practices to be pretty charged up.
Yeah, I just can't, we've talked about that first game, and I know you open on the road at Lincoln Way West for your first game. And, I kind of, without having actually been able to sense it yet, but I get the same kind of sense from maybe this first week in those first games that I got after 9/11 when we played, and it was the first time back. And I think it kind of hit everyone, and you just felt that emotion. And again, it's going to be different because we don't know who's going to be allowed in and what the crowd size is going to be, but I'm just excited to maybe get that feel and that vibe, because I think there's going to be so much more energy than we would have had for a normal start of the season, which is already great, a regular season. But with this in particular, and your seniors, obviously, in particular, and you've got a nice senior group there that, I know you guys are expecting big things in 2020, and that got postponed, obviously. And while it's different, I mean, you still want those guys to finish on the field, and you don't want that taken away from them. And this is their chance. And I just think it could be pretty special just for that one factor alone. I think it could be a really special year.
Yeah, I think being out there for that first game, and actually we do open up at home against West. So
my bad.
So we open up at home against West. I think that first game is going to feel. I think you're going to all experience that feeling of presence. That you're really doing it, that you're really there, that you're really about to do it for real. I think it'll refocus our emotions and our memory back to that first time that you kind of suited up. I think it's that kind of not novelty, but like a nostalgia, that you're getting a chance to do the thing that you love again. If all of us old guys were able to step out on the field again and lace it up and be that young one more time, I think it's going to be that kind of a sense of feeling and presence in that moment. And I'm really looking forward to it. I know that West is really looking forward to it. They have a great program and they're coached really, really well, and Luke is doing a great job over there. And so I believe that it's going to be a great game. And I think it really speaks to more of what it means to everybody rather than just the outcome. I think that is going to be a shift for a lot of people in this abbreviated season, just the focus on that moment, focus on those games individually rather than the end. And not that it's better or worse, but it's just that you talk about that perspective shift, that mindset shift. I think that's what you're going to see there. and I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Well, fill us in on this team you got coming back this spring. I know offensively, I think 7 starters back from a year ago, which again, that was a playoff team, and I know looking forward to that. So who are some of the names that we need to keep an eye on for the T-Bolts?
Well, we're really excited to have a returning quarterback. This will be the first time I have a returning starting quarterback at Andrew High School. So Trevor Griffin is going to be a senior. Really excited about him. And my interior line is also returning. So our center, Dominic Cananito, he's actually a junior. Our 2 guards are seniors. They're returning. Stephen, and I butcher this poor kid's last name every time I say it. I promised him I was going to say it correctly at our banquet this year. I can spell it very quickly. It phonetically it's Radosavljevic, but that's not how you pronounce it. And I'm going to learn how to pronounce it by the banquet. So he's coming back at right guard. We love Stevie. He works his tail off. Adam Winnestorfer is our other guard. He's coming back. He's been working his tail off. He's a 3-year starter. And then we have our tackle positions open with guys that are both going to be coming up and guys that are that did start at some points last year, still working into those spots. So we don't know who those guys are going to be yet. They're still working for it. We got some really great up and comers from our junior class that are going to be filling in some spots we're really excited about, like Trey Alexander at tight end. And Mike Bobber at tight end, who's a senior 3-sport athlete at Andrew. Last year he had some ankle issues, but he worked all that out, and he's looking like $1 million. So really excited about him. We have returners in the backfield along with Trevor. We have Jake Tanquillet. He's one of our wing backs. He's just an excellent young man. He's going to have a really big year. Frank Rohde, who's a returning 2-way starter, he's going to be playing all over the place for us offensively and defensively. Cortland Shanley is a wide receiver. He's going to be returning for us on the perimeter. Very excited about that for sure. And so, yeah, we have a lot of things that we want to do offensively, especially with those guys who just kind of know our system so well and have been, starting 2 or 3 years, actually, some of them. So we're very excited about that for sure.
Defensively, as we talked about, just a handful, I think a couple of starters back. And again, just on the defensive side, some names we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so defensively, we had a huge turnover because we had so many guys that were 2- and 3-year starters for us. But again, Frank Rohde will be there on the defense as starting defensive back for us. That's going to be huge. Thomas Panisse is going to be our middle linebacker, and he does a lot of stuff on the line of scrimmage as well for us, and he's going to be a huge part. Defensive line wise, we have a lot of guys coming back that were kind of shift players, that were personnel package players, so they have experience. They just may not have started all year, and so we're excited about them to come and play this senior year, so they get that natural progression that they've earned. So we're very excited about that too. And then we're filling in a lot of spots with young up and comers that are getting that chance as sophomores and as juniors. And so we're really fired up about that. You talk about one of the hardest things is when you lose a season, you lose that year of development for a lot of your younger guys. And so I'm really thankful that we don't have to experience that, because we're really excited about our young players. Our sophomore level is doing great. Our freshman level looks great as well. And so the future is definitely bright for Andrew football.
That had to be a challenge, I would think, especially the freshman level during all this, because let's face it, it's not like you had them in school and could kind of corral them around. You didn't have that opportunity. So how big of a challenge, Adam, was that for your assistant coaches in particular?
Well, I have an amazing staff of assistant coaches. They are all just excellent leaders, and they work so well together. And we do this thing together so very well. You can rely on these guys to do anything. And so because of them, we were able to really maintain communication and flexibility and timeliness of scheduling and timeliness of contingency plans. And now, day one of practice, it's already running very smooth, and it's because of all of their efforts. My assistant coaches are awesome. Each of them can do the head job. And that's really the strength of the program.
Schedule, as we talked about, and I mean, I'll be honest, for 6 games, I love your schedule. There's not a clinker in here at all. I mean, you mentioned you open at home against Lincoln Way West, then it's Stagg, Bradley, Lincoln Way Central, Lockport, Bolingbrook, and again, those are 6 challenging games week in and week out for you and your program.
Love being in the Southwest Suburban Conference. It is a conference of great schools, great communities, and guys that love football, and their players are always prepared and they always play their hearts out. And so I love being in our conference. Sad to see the non-conference games disappear because I really liked those programs as well. And I'm really disappointed to not be able to play the HF game, Coach Buzz's last year. So, losing those games is definitely a disappointment. And obviously losing the playoffs is a disappointment. But when you look at each week for us in the Southwest Suburban Conference, it's always tough. It's always something that you really have to plan for. You really have to prepare for and have your kids ready and healthy and charged up. There's no weeks off. And so, we're fired up. We love playing in our conference. The programs are all solid. You could lose any week, which is what I love. And then you're going to go into a dogfight every week. And so, those challenges are what keeps us focused. It's what keeps us working so hard. And so I'm thankful for it. Yeah.
No doubt. Well, I tell you what, done a great job so far since taking over the program. And Andrew, keep it going. By the way, if you live in that area and haven't been to a game at the Thunderdome, you got to go. It's a great home field. And again, I know that as of right now, there's not going to be a whole lot of fans, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed and hopefully we can get some things changed here in the next few weeks and be able to allow some fans to come in and watch. So Adam, again, I appreciate you taking time. I know it's a busy day and again, just best of luck and hope get the chance to see you down the road a little bit.
I appreciate it. I just thank you so much for all that you do for the communities around Illinois, for our young athletes and our coaches and the schools that they play for. It is an awesome thing what you do. It really is. I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. God bless.